He was designated 1A, even though he was 24 years old and teaching school at the time, on a Thursday, and on a Friday he was drafted into the military, and he asked for a deferment until the school year was over with, and he got that, and then was inducted into the military in June of 1970. He served, he did his basic training in Fort Dix, New Jersey, and then did advanced infantry training in Fort Sam Houston, Texas, as a medical corpsman. And I think he was chosen to be a medical corpsman because he had a degree in health and physical education and had the biology and physiology and anatomy background. And I think you were okay with that, weren't you? Being a medic?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And during that time, our first child was born when he was at Fort Sam. And on December 18th, 1970, his 25th birthday, he was sent to Landstuhl, Germany, which at the time was the largest hospital in the world, and it's the hospital where all of the Vietnam casualties were being sent to. They had a huge burn unit, and they sent all the casualties to that hospital prior to being sent home. And his job while he was there was not working with the Vietnam casualty guys, but he worked in the pediatric clinic, and you took care of babies,
Yep.
babies and young children. Because there was such a large number of U.S. military in Germany at the time, they had dependents, and so that's when he was working with the children during that time. And he was there for 6 months at Landstuhl, and then he was transferred to Mannheim, Germany, to work in clinics there. But he also played division level baseball for the Army.
Yep.
And we traveled all over Europe with the baseball team.
Why was he playing baseball for the Army?
Back in the early 70s, and I don't know if they still do that, but in order to keep up the morale of the military people that were stationed far from home, they formed ball teams to play ball, just to kind of give the guys some camaraderie and to give them a little distraction from the work that they were doing, and being some of them away from their families and some of them with their families. So it allowed, what he did was he went to baseball practice, then he played golf with his buddies, and then everybody went home and got their wives and kids, and we ate at a Mexican restaurant at night.
Yep.
There was one guy that was in the Army that
All of
lived in the barracks, and he didn't like living
Is
he didn't like living in the barracks. So he moved in with us for a month. We had an apartment, and that was annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Did you get along well with him?
ha!
Yeah.
Got along well with him, and after about a month, I said, you need to go home. You need to go back to the barracks and let us live our little lives here. So Hal had to leave. Hal had to go.
What was it like coming back to the United States after you were in Germany?
Well, you didn't have anybody doing anything to you, but you were kind of disrespected, because people were against the war, but they didn't understand that some of the people that were in the military, it wasn't their choice to be in the military, and even if it was their choice to be in the military, it wasn't their choice to be involved in that war. But if you were in the military, it was your duty to do whatever it is that the country needed you to do. And it annoyed me personally because I didn't think that someone who didn't choose to be in the military and should be disrespected for doing their job.
Do you keep in contact with anyone you served with?
We did in the beginning. We made some very close friends, some very fast friends. When you're in the military and you're stationed away from home, you make friends pretty quickly. And we made some great friends. And shortly after we got out of the Army and came home, we did keep in contact with several of the families and went and visited them. A couple of them were career Army people, so we visited them at Fort Leavenworth, Fort Leavenworth, and but then that was in the early '70s, and we just kind of lost contact with them. We were lucky.
So you look at it as a positive experience.
Oh, yeah. So,
It's not what he chose, though. It's not what he chose to do.
no,